Outlaws.
Adam, Charles Dickens once wrote, "In A Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times." And he could have quite easily been talking about the year 1992. Because 1992, Adam, was the year that gave us arguably the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. Would we agree?
Yeah, definitely.
We had the ultimate underdog story of Denmark filling in for Yugoslavia, who'd been disqualified, and going on to win the European Championships.
Yep.
We had the glitz and the glamour of the Barcelona Summer Olympics.
Yeah. Yep.
In cinemas, we had the release of Reservoir Dogs and A Few Good Men.
Oh.
It was the birth year of some supremely talented sports stars like Kyrie Irving, Heung-min Son, Neymar, and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
It was a year that gave us Angel Dust by Faith No More.
Oh yes.
The Chronic by Dr. Dre.
Oh.
Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera.
Come on now. Oh.
Charles Dickens wrote it was the best of times, but he also wrote it was the worst of times. And 1992 gave us Brain Dead, directed by Peter Jackson, and it gave us WCW's Halloween Havoc 1992. And unfortunately for us, that's what we're here to discuss tonight.
Nice. Nicely put.
It was the worst of times.
Yeah.
Here we are, episode 62, and we've hit rock bottom.
Oh. I don't know if it was clearly the worst Havoc so far, but it was clearly the worst film so far.
Yeah, I agreed.
I don't. There's not that many films that I sit down to try and watch that I can't. I just can't keep going beyond a certain point. And this, unfortunately, this was one. I didn't make it.
No, and neither did I. And I think I maybe lasted a little longer than you. But
yeah, it was maybe about half an hour.
How long? It was about an hour 40, maybe.
Yeah, I think the film was an hour 40, and it was so obviously bad right from the start. But I think we've talked about how, you get things that are, they're bad, but it's in an entertaining way.
Absolutely.
So you get something out of it. This wasn't in an entertaining way.
No.
It was just really bad.
I think as an adult, you can pretty much, if you decide that you're going to watch something, you can pretty much sit through anything. But I think I described to you Brain Dead, which we'll go on to describe what exactly it was supposed to be about. I think I described it as offensive to your senses. And I think that's about as best the way I could describe it.
Yeah. So we had, it was Saturday, we had seen each other and you had watched it and I hadn't at that stage. Was that a week past Saturday? It was maybe the weekend before. Yeah, you'd watched it and I hadn't. And you were giving off these vibes. In fact, you were straight out telling me that this wasn't going to be easy.
I bet you thought I was exaggerating.
I did, until I put it on. So I tried to watch it. Yeah, it must have been the Saturday before last that we saw each other.
Yes.
Because I tried to watch it on the Saturday just past. Wife was out for a bit. I thought, I'll put this on. I'll just try and watch it now. No, I couldn't.
No. And the thing is, this is described as a cult classic. This is described as a great zombie horror flick. Let's set the table and describe what it was about and then we can discuss sort of where we both got up to. I'm genuinely quite taken aback at the fact that neither of us was able to finish it.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot, given some of the crap that we've watched over our time together. Brain Dead is also known as Dead Alive, I think, in its release in the United States. Another horror comedy directed by Peter Jackson. The film stars Timothy Balm, who I mentioned to you was one of the lead actors on a New Zealand soap opera called Shortland Street, which they tried to make popular, certainly in the UK, jumping off the back of Neighbours and Home and Away. Mm-hmm. He stars as Lionel, who's our main character, and he must deal with quite an overbearing mother who transforms into a zombie. There's a love interest here. There's a lot of squishiness. I think that might be it. We've got a sort of it's slapsticky from the very first scene when they're on Skull Island and they're talking about this giant rat's been raping monkeys, and you've got like the inhabitants of the island looking incredibly stereotypical, sort of tribe. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's 1992. But almost as soon as I switched on, I was like, oh no, I don't think this is going to be for me.
Do you know, the only, early on, the only moment where I had a bit of hope was because that basically intro that's on the island is quite short, mm-hmm. and then you move away from the island, and I thought, okay, if that was just that, and we're now leaving that behind, maybe we can get to the film now. Maybe it's mm-hmm. going to be something different now. And it was in terms of location and the look, I suppose, of the characters, but it didn't really improve from there.
I would argue it got worse from there. When we got introduced to Lionel, and he's this sort of, I like using this phrase, he's a bit of a foppish dandy. And he has this overbearing mother, and he's sort of taken aback by the girl that works at where she work at post office or the butchers or something, and it almost seemed like it was dubbed over, but we know it wasn't, but it seemed that way.
Like I got really confused early on when we encountered this love interest at first, because he's giving the look like, oh, I'm massively interested, and she's like, this guy's just some weird geeky guy or whatever. But then the change in her seems to be almost instant. Like
she appears at his door. Yeah. I thought the exact same thing. That's so funny.
Yeah. Weird.
I mean, there's not much more we can go into. You can't watch much more than that. No, they end up on a date.
Yeah.
The mother's hiding in the bushes watching them because she is not happy about this. Lionel can't be having any sort of love interest. She stumbles up against the cage, and this is where this rat comes in that was captured at the start. It looks like something from Trapdoor.
Yeah.
The old claymation thing.
Yeah.
It looks like utter shit. I'm no movie snob or anything like that. I happily watch anything, but my kids could have made something better than this. And it bites the mum. She sticks her heel in its face, and that's what trips off the...
Pretty much the end for me. I
think my God!
After the mum's encounter with the rat monkey thing, that was me, I think.
Oh wow! I kind of want you to go and watch more of it now.
Like, there's a moment. Is there a moment where? So she is in the house in the entranceway, and she's dying.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that, but I think I'd stopped paying attention before that happened. I think I'd
staring at the wall.
Yeah. And there was definitely a moment, which was, I think, just as maybe they were going on their date, that I was like, I'm maybe going to stop trying to take any notes here and maybe just try and get into the film a little bit. And I'm looking at it thinking, that's not It's not happening. It's yeah. So I think I watched on to. I think the mother dies. Basically,
Yes.
he's there and she has died, and I think that was maybe the last scene I remember seeing.
Okay. There's kind of like a running gag where she dies about a million times and keeps coming back and keeps coming back. She's a bit like layers and layers of skin are coming off her. And she just starts contaminating lots of different people.
Okay.
Again, like I love a horror. I'm not particularly squeamish, but they go over the top with like the sort of pussy type effects and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I love a zombie film.
Yeah.
This is not a zombie film.
Yeah. When it's done well, they're great.
Do you know...
Is this what launched Peter Jackson?
I think it is. Isn't that me? Like I said to you, I love the Lord of the Rings films. I'm going to boycott Lord of the Rings films. Peter Jackson, you've ruined them for me. Do you know that it's currently sitting at a 90% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, wow. Like, I get, in fairness, I think there's some, like, not very good films that I like for whatever reason, and that's happened over the years, but there's always something about them. There's something entertaining about them. I really couldn't find anything in this.
No, me neither. I've got some more trivia about it. Okay. They won't make any sense to us. During the custard scene, 300 litres of fake custard was used. Don't know what custard scene was. The lawnmower scene, which I believe is like a sort of big finale, required 300 litres of fake blood. I think it's maybe got the record for the most amount of blood on screen.
Okay.
For any film. The film was shot in 11 weeks and a budget approximately $3 million. Cool. I like stuff like that. That's cool. Like it's been made for a pittance and then...
Yeah. It's obviously done well. I mean, whether that's like you get with a lot of cult classics where it's like, well, it was like VHS sales were huge. Maybe didn't do much in terms of a big release or a cinema release or anything like that, but huge numbers of videos and DVDs sold.
Yeah, sure. There's plenty of films like that over the years, but yeah, it wasn't for us. It wasn't Brain Dead. Yeah, final thoughts. There's no need for final thoughts, is there?
Yeah, I just don't think, like, there was nothing there that makes me think I want to go and try and watch this again. So when we talked about the fact that a few days ago that neither of us had made it through this, and we both had plans to try and revisit, and I was actually sitting at my home work desk thinking, I can't do this. So I messaged you being like, what would happen if we just didn't watch it? Because I couldn't face it.
No. We shouldn't be forced into. Some of the wrestling's bad enough, let alone the films. For 1993, I think we're agreed. We're going to watch John Carpenter's Bag of Bones, which I was going to say we hope would be better than this, but there's zero chance it could be any worse.
No, I think from this short trailer, it at least looks like it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm asking for.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Peter Jackson, do you like The Frighteners? Michael J. Fox?
Yeah.
It's crazy the same director could have made.
Yeah. I was just, when we were talking, I was looking up, and I'm sure I've seen a film called Bad Taste, which he made a few years before. I'm absolutely sure I've seen that.
Quite similar in the sort of silly-looking prosthetic type of physical effects.
I think it's aliens in that. Yeah, I'm sure I've seen that. But I think I must have found something in that was watchable, at least, because I'm sure I made it all the way through.
Okay. The middle-aged outlaws do not recommend that you watch Brain Dead. Now, before we go on to Halloween Havoc 1992, I wanted to try and lift the mood before we get into the wrestling. Okay. So I wondered if you have heard or seen, I know how much you love Hulk Hogan. I wondered if you had seen or heard any of his recent sort of media tour that he's been on.
No.
Oh, so he did Joe Rogan quite recently. He did Theo Vaughan's podcast. He did an interview with, I want to say it's like an outlet called Muscle and Health or something like that, right?
Okay.
And maybe one day we could do an episode on Hulk Hogan's lies, because they're obviously infamous. But I'd never heard, he started doing new ones.
Oh, no.
And in this interview, the lady asks him about Simon Cowell. And you know how Simon Cowell was involved in the WrestleMania album? Yeah, WrestleMania album.
Yes.
1992, 93, 1992, I think it was.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. Can I play you the clip? And I might pause it to get your reactions. This is around a 2-minute clip, so I'll maybe pause it, bits and pieces.
Okay.
But there's so much in this.
Okay.
Let me see what you think.
So, you were telling me earlier, before we started rolling,
Yeah.
you brought Simon Cowell to the United States.
Well, he came to help with the wrestling albums. I was, long story, I'll make it short. I was in Wembley Stadium and I saw a lot of Make-A-Wish kids. It was me, Michael Jackson, Mr. T, who saw all the Make-A-Wish kids during the 80s and 90s. I had a kid there that was in rough shape. The EMTs were with him and he was on a stretcher, and you know, his body odor and stuff, it had a smell to it that I hadn't smelled in a while. Not bad, but it was just a different type of smell.
What? What? Where's he going with this? What?
Mr. T, me and Michael Jackson hanging out at Wembley.
I think they're going to have to team together and save this kid, but okay, let's...
You have to watch out for that body odour on those Make-A-Wish kids.
And I really wasn't sure what it was, and the parents were freaking out. They were Hulkamaniacs, and I told the doctors and the EMTs, you know, the kid's in kind of trouble here, you know, so let me say my goodbyes and give him a hug and kiss him. And I got a nice place for him out at ringside at Wembley Stadium. It's all roped off. So I went to wrestle, and I kept looking, and the kid wasn't there. So when I came back from wrestling, I was the last person to wrestle the main event. I said, what happened to the family out there? And they said, oh, the kid passed away. So when I found out the kid passed away, my manager, Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, he used to be in a band too. And he had a couple number one hit songs here in the States. And I played music before. So we stayed up all night.
We all know that Hulk played bass for Metallica, of course.
Why did he, like, the way he's telling the story, why did he, like, feel the need to say that the kid's parents were Hulkamaniacs?
They were Hulkamaniacs.
Obviously, this kid's parents, they're Hulkamaniacs. Yeah.
How embarrassing when your kid's on the way out and you need to just fanboy over Hulk Hogan.
And all you can do is worry about this odour that's coming off him, thinking, oh no, is this hitting Hulk Hogan? We're Hulkamaniacs. We can't have that.
A couple number one hit songs here in the States, and I played music before. So we stayed up all night, and we wrote 12 songs for the kid's family. And I didn't know anybody in the UK, and Jimmy knew somebody from Select Records, and they got a hold of Simon Cowell. He produced a little album for us, and it went number one on Billboard for 8 weeks. And we gave...
It went number one for 8 weeks. Okay. Maybe I'll take that with a pinch of salt, but okay. Okay.
Just a little album for us, and it went number one on Billboard for 8 weeks. And we donated the money to the family. And then Simon came back to me and said we need to do the song with a band called Green Jelly over in the UK. And something called Leader of the Gang, a Gary Glitter song. And so that did really well on Billboard too. So when I came back to the States, I had the crazy idea, since I was wrestling, maybe we should do music here. So I grabbed Cyndi Lauper and Rick Derringer and a bunch of people, and we recut a bunch of songs, Land of a Thousand Dances and stuff. And Simon came over and helped produce the wrestling album. Then he came and produced the second wrestling album, Pile Driver, and he never left.
Is anyone fact checking this as it's going?
That's a 2-minute snippet from about a 22-minute interview. Do you know? I'm a terrible liar. I've never been a good liar, right? But isn't the best way of being a really good liar to not go into outrageously intricate detail.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Like I think it depends on circumstances whether I'm good at. I can't to certain people. Like I can't to my wife. I don't know. I just start laughing. I like a big broad smile goes across my face as I'm saying it. I'm like, yeah, no, I only had 3 beers, and then the smile's there and all that, and it gives me away. But I think in certain circumstances I can do it. But yeah, I would be keeping it absolute minimal amount of detail.
So WWF have never run any other show apart from SummerSlam 1992 at Wembley.
Yes.
He was not on that card. He just said he was main event.
Yeah.
Obviously, his main event came back. The parents, they were Hulkamaniacs.
Yeah, there's a lot needs checked out there. Now, I'm sure they could have done, they'll have done other shows, but I don't think they've ever done a Wembley show.
No.
They've done other shows in the UK, plenty of tours every year. And I would fully believe Hulk Hogan was headlining some of them, but for some reason he had to find out it was Wembley.
And Mr. T and Michael Jackson were there at a house show at Wembley. Oh my God! And listen, I don't know what age Hulk is these days, but he's an older man. But if he's got form for, we could fill 2 hours with the lies that he's told. Remember,
So
did you say that he travelled back in time and wrestled so many? He was going between America and Japan and wrestled so many matches in one day or something because he travelled back in time.
I remember one of the big ones was it was one of the Von Erichs, wasn't it? That he was talking about being on a plane with, and he could not have possibly been on a plane with him. It wasn't possible. I always wonder with guys like this, does he just create it in his mind to make him seem important, and then as soon as he's done it, does he believe it?
Maybe. This is what the Dark Side of the Ring on Marty Jannetty talked about him doing. You've seen some of the Facebook posts that he made and all that sort of stuff, and this became a thing that he just craved the limelight so much that he would just make up these outrageous things to get people, to shock people and to. Surely Hogan is the center point at any room he walks in.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to do that.
No, he's got enough real stories
exactly.
to captivate anyone. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad when it's the Marty Jannetty situation where I am not sure he has control over what he's saying and what he's doing and all that. But if it's somebody just, I don't know, looking to be the headline, but knows that they're doing it, it's just weird.
Yes, especially the body odor thing absolutely cracked me up. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure quite where he was going. I think he just needed to set it up to be clear that kid was just about to die.
He was on the way out. Watch out for the smell. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Shall we do this, Havoc? Shall we talk 1992 WCW?
I was just thinking after you were saying the Royal Rumble 92 was awesome, and we all know what SummerSlam 92 was.
Oh yes, of course. I didn't even mention that. Of course.
There's these great shows going on the WWE side, and I'm pretty confident they're still great because I've definitely gone back and watched them in recent years and still really enjoyed them.
Absolutely. Yep. We reviewed SummerSlam 92 at one point and thoroughly enjoyed it. There's definitely a spectacle aspect to it, but it was a good show as well.
Yeah. So we'll get there. There's bits in this that I thought were okay. There's bits in this that are terrible.
It's funny because most times I'll say to you, there's bits and pieces I enjoyed of this, and sometimes you can just go, nah, this was rubbish. I hated this pay-per-view. It was crap. And the roles are reversed here because for me, this was an absolute drizzling. Awful. Hated it. Okay. And I think the Philadelphia crowd could have been feeling quite similar to me.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah.
At what point do they just say, look, we're not going to go back to Philadelphia because they just keep booing all the people that we want them to cheer.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. We get another eerie opening video package. We have Sting howling at the moon, and Jake Roberts laughing like the absolute psychopath that he is.
Yep.
Strange dynamic of we've got Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura at ringside. We've got Tony and Don Corleone. Oh no, it was Bruno Sammartino sort of standing up the top of the aisle, and then we have Missy Hyatt backstage. Do we have anyone else backstage?
I think that's it.
Just
I
Missy
can't
Hyatt.
remember if we saw any sign of Bischoff here. I'm not sure we did.
Don't think we did.
Yeah.
So we're kind of bouncing between the three of them throughout. Round about this time was when Bill Watts took over the book at WCW. His whole thing was keep it realistic. Oh, what irony! His whole thing was keep it realistic. He was all about like removing the mats from outside the rings and things like that. Give it a more gritty look, but I think further work was needed there, Cowboy. So Tony Schiavone and Bruno Sammartino welcome us to the show. They talk about the main event is going to be an unsanctioned match, spin the wheel, make the deal. And they say that it could be any one of 12 types of matches. They also splice in some footage of the Barbarian training for Ron Simmons' Power Slam. But instead of trying to counter it, they just show him taking Power Slams over and over again.
Yeah, I love that, but probably for the wrong reasons. Because that was the first thing that came into my mind. The guy, as part of his training, is being power slammed 200 times. Is there no thought as to, like, wait a minute, is there any way we can prevent this from happening?
Class. That is the Barbarian from the Powers of Pain from WWF. Unbelievably in a main event slot.
That's surprising. And I know, so Flair's left because, well, we know Flair was at the Rumble. I suspect he left not long after the last Havoc. So he's in WWF. So when you're thinking star power, I think you're thinking, well, they've still got Sting, they've still got Luger here. I think
so. I don't think we see him on the show.
And, you know, you've got Jake the Snake, which feels like he's maybe being fairly newly introduced here. I don't think he's been around very long.
Yep.
But, you know, beyond that, I think they've got Vader as well. But you are thinking they're making a massive deal out of Rick Rude. And I love Rick Rude. But I don't know if it's my, you know, WWE favoritism where I maybe never saw him as being the top guy. So it does feel like they've got a wee bit short in like star power.
Yeah, and I feel like Cactus Jack's been made out to be a main event level player, whereas you maybe don't really believe it as well. So you mentioned Rick Rude there. He's got 2 belts.
Yeah,
and he seems that do we get that later when Bill Watts starts talking about?
Yeah, that's
later. God almighty. Need a translator for that. Okay, we're backstage with Missy Hyatt. She's trying to find out what's happening in Rick Rude's locker room as he prepares for 2 different matches on the card. And is it at that point that Harley Race comes, or is that later?
That's when Harley Race comes and knocks, I think, and all the speculation, it's not confirmed here, but all the speculation is that, so Rick Rude and his opponent, I can't remember the guy's name, I'll have it written down somewhere further down, in his NWA World Title match, Masahiro Chono,
Yep.
So they will both nominate a referee through the night, and then there'll be a coin toss to determine whose referee is in the ring and whose referee is going to be on the outside. So I think they're pretty heavily going into, obviously it's going to be Harley Race that Rick Rude nominates, because I think we see him going into his locker room at this point.
Yep. Missy Hyatt is incredibly annoying. Is that fair?
Yes, she really, really is. Yeah.
Good, not just me then. Okay,
Nope.
first match is like... The first match is a bit like a pit bull taking on a mouse. We have the sort of tag team legends versus what seems to be being framed as a sort of young guns, up and comers type team. So we've got Arn, Beautiful Bobby, and Michael Hayes taking on the Z-Man, Johnny Gunn, and Shane Douglas.
Yeah.
And straight off the bat, I noticed Big Vlad in the front row. Did you see him?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
He's so happy.
Yeah.
Massive big smile on his face. Love to see it. We've seen the Z-Man before, not been particularly impressed.
No.
Not seen Johnny Gunn before, and of course Shane Douglas was in the what? The Dynamic Dudes?
Yeah, that was it. Yep.
Johnny Gunn is awful. Like,
he seems like the one they're trying to push. Like in this match, I'm sure he gets the pinfall. I think it's Johnny Gunn on Michael Hayes for the 3. And the whole way through this, there's actually some decent tag team psychology, mostly by Arn Anderson, which I suppose is what you would expect.
Yep.
The heel team, doing the, luring the teammate in from the babyface team and then taking advantage in the double team when the ref's trying to sort that out. Just that sort of basic stuff. And there are points in the match where, in particular, Tom Zink is made to look like an absolute idiot. Just looks like he has no business being in there, no idea what he's doing. They're playing him like a fiddle. And then it breaks down to a point where there's just all the men in the ring and it's carnage. And then there's a Thez press, which we've seen so many folk do it now as a finisher, but it's a Thez press by Johnny Gunn on Michael Hayes. The crowd did not like the babyface team winning there at all.
Not at all.
No.
My favourite part of this match, and I, like you say, there was nice little sprinkles, because all 3 of them are tag team legends.
Yeah.
It's not ridiculous to say.
Yeah.
So they're dedicated and they're giving it their all. Again, Arn just looks class, like begging them to give him something decent to do for us.
Yeah, I've got in my notes he should be in a better spot on the card than a thrown together team. It just doesn't. I'm fine with him being in a tag team. I think it's a great role for him to be in a tag team, but a proper tag team, not just we'll take 3 guys that have been in successful tag teams.
My favourite bit of this match is when Jesse the Body says, "Oh, by the way, I forgot." Right at the opening of the show, Missy Hyatt says something like, "We've not been introduced to Jesse Ventura and JR yet," and she says something like, "The man at ringside is the man that I'm going to vote for to be president of the United States," and it cuts to him and he's just sitting there with a skeleton mask on, staring at JR.
I've heard it was maybe in one of JR's books. I don't think he liked working with Jesse Ventura at all.
Oh, really?
And I think there's points here where it's starting to come across, but I don't think I would have picked up on it, because the way JR often is with whoever the heel announcer is. He gets annoyed, he gets worked up. Yeah. But it happens a few times, and I'm sitting, because I've read this, thinking, is that real? Is he just really getting under his skin now? He definitely did not like working with him.
That's crazy. I liked Ventura better than JR on this show.
Yeah, I think we've kind of we grew pretty quickly pretty tired of JR's style in these shows.
College. Just stop talking about them at college, JR.
And JR's kind of mocking it and kind of mocking him. Ventura's kind of mocking it and kind of mocking him, and it kind of works, as a duo. But yeah, apparently did not like it.
And these 2 hosted the Saturday night TV show together as well.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying. My favourite part of this match, Jesse Ventura says that Shane Douglas looks like a right-wing Republican. Like, he just says it out of nowhere. And JR just sort of gives him that okay, or sort of squirms away from it. You know, like Monsoon would have been like, "Will you stop?" Or
Yeah.
JR just completely no sells it.
Not touching that. Just
I don't have much else to say about this match. I don't know if you do.
Nah, I liked Arn Anderson. I think, I've no real issue with Shane Douglas being in a spot like this. He's young, he's getting some exposure, he's on a show, all that kind of thing. It felt like a thrown together match with an idea of putting some young guys together against some experienced guys and giving them a win. I was frustrated with Arn being in this role. I think it was fine for everyone else.
Yeah, agreed. Isn't it funny that we're in Philadelphia? I think it might be the same place, Civic Centre, where Shane Douglas is getting booed here, and he throw down the NWA title and sort of kick off his the Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. Our second match on the card. At least we didn't have 11 matches like the last pay-per-view.
That's maybe why I didn't think this was quite as bad.
And Van Hammer was on the dark match as well, which is great
so
news.
So we don't see him,
against Eric Watts, I believe.
Oh God,
That
explains. We see you later on. Yeah,
that explains why he appears and he's like, oh. I tell you, it's Bill Watts' son. He's a huge guy.
Yeah.
Okay, second match. Flying Brian Pillman versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. On paper, just sounds like an absolute dream.
Yeah.
Does it not?
Yeah. This was very disappointing.
Absolutely. Pillman looks like... I often found when we've been watching Pillman, I almost find him unrecognisable. Previously, he's got the sort of straight hair. And he's very, very baby face, very white meat baby face sort of thing.
Yeah.
And from the moment it comes out here, you're like, oh, that's my Brian Pillman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's a heel. He's playing up to it in a good way. I liked what I saw as the character.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get into the match.
No, me neither.
I've seen some absolute classics with Steamboat, like think about the Randy Savage WrestleMania 3 match, and you think about he's had all these matches with Flair that people talk about all the time. And when I saw
we saw him with Luger. I remember us saying we thought he made Luger look amazing, yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw it was these two, I was like, oh yes. But it just didn't do it. It didn't grab me. There was nothing in it that jumped out at me.
Same. Exact same. I almost felt guilty that I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
It just didn't get going. I don't know what it was. Meshing the styles didn't mesh together.
Yeah.
Pillman, maybe a year ago, the face Pillman in Steamboat could have had a barn burner because they'd been flying back and forward, whereas this version of Pillman is a lot slower, calculated, pulling out the sort of heel bits and pieces. I have no notes apart from I can't really get into this, and Steamboat gets a roll-up win.
I've got some things about like they start off as, you know, they sort of try and tell a story, I think, of Steamboat being in an unusual position where he's the stronger but the slower guy in this match, which is not as usual. There's some, you know, there's a Pillman faking an injury, and then the ref's over at him trying to make sure he's okay, and as soon as Steamboat turns his back, Pillman hits him from behind and stuff like that. You know, just
Classic.
some of your heel stuff that you want to see. There were some, like, it felt like there were some individual moves that looked fine, but nothing was really coming together.
Yeah.
So there's some nice, you know, aerial moves. I thought that the end sequence was a good idea. It maybe just wasn't quite executed the way I think they tried to do it. Because I think Steamboat comes off for a sunset flip. And
from the
Pillman,
top.
and Pillman tries to counter it. And then Steamboat catches him upside down, basically flips him onto his back to get the pin-in combination. So I thought that, you know, the idea behind the finish was fine. I don't know, it just didn't work, which is a shame.
Aye, absolutely. If I'd seen it on the cards before, and you and I like to just sort of watch it without knowing what's on the card, I think I'd have been really looking forward to it. I may have been even more disappointed.
Yeah, true. That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, we go backstage, and this is where things start to get a bit confusing, certainly for me. We've got Teddy Long, who's no longer Peanut Head Theodore Long.
Yeah.
He is a backstage correspondent for WCW now.
Oh, that's right. He's the other backstage guy. Yeah.
So he is with the president of the NWA.
Yeah.
The president of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
And Masahiro Chono, who is he the NWA champion? Yes.
Yeah, he's the champion. I think Rude's the challenger. Yeah.
I assume WCW must be working with New Japan at this time. I take it this was their way of sort of expanding and all that, which is great. Which makes a lot of this pay-per-view all the more confusing, right? So Bill Watts was all about realism.
Yep.
You've got a partnership with New Japan.
Yep.
And you've got spin the wheel, take the deal match with the fucking coal miners.
Yeah.
Again, it's this WCW haywire booking that we've seen.
Yeah.
Really odd. So we get a bit of a promo from these guys. Then we go to Bill Watts. And I genuinely said to you, I need you to explain to me what Bill Watts is saying because I don't understand what he's on about.
So the gist of it, I think, is that he says something about so Chono has chosen Hero as his official for the match in that promo beforehand.
Okay.
So Schiavone is with Bill Watts. Bill Watts says it is obvious Harley Race is going to be the official chosen by Rude. And I think he may, although I may just be making this up in my head to try and make it make sense, talk about the fact that there'll be a coin toss in the ring to determine who's the inside and outside official.
Okay.
Obviously, neither official is expected to be objective from, they both have a guy. So basically, I walked away, maybe I should have. I came away from this thinking, okay, so is whoever wins the coin toss just going to win the match then? Is that, is this how this title's actually going to be decided? Because whoever wins it's got their ref as the guy in the ring.
Who thought that this was a good idea?
Nah.
I could see the coin toss and then the other one has to go at the back.
Yeah, or even just like I'm going to have a guy in my corner. Here's my guy. This is just why does one of them have to be the ref in the match? Yeah. So that I think was the gist of what he said. But he also talked about Terry Gordy having been suspended by WCW, and Steve Austin will be his replacement in the tag title match. Don't know if that's a legit suspension. It might be.
Terry Gordy legit no-showed the pay-per-view.
Oh, okay. And he also confirms that Rude has chosen Vader as his replacement for the US title match. Bill Watts seems furious about this, but he seems to have allowed it, and then confirms that if Vader loses, if Koloff beats Vader, Koloff will be the US champion. So basically, Vader is there being Rude for that match. He's
representing Rude for that match. He's kind of like, what is it they say in the Hunger Games? A volunteer's tribute. That's what Vader's done, but with extra barking.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So, are you of the opinion that Vader and Rude are in a dangerous alliance at this point? Together?
I was thinking so.
Okay, me too.
We've got some stuff going on later on with the Dangerous Alliance.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to our third match. It's Nikita Koloff versus Big Van Vader. It's for the US Championship on Vader's wrestling on behalf of Rick Rude, who is the US champion, but is also on the card fighting for the NWA champion. They're not allowing him to be in two fights, or they're allowing him not to be in two matches.
Yeah.
Immediately, Harley Race and Rick Rude. That's why I was laughing. Is that Rude's got a brass neck coming out to stand at ringside, though. Eh?
He looks so smug, though. He's so good at that. It just looks like, yeah, I've won this. I've got round all of this. He just looks so smug.
The match is no DQ.
Yeah.
But the ref can ban people from ringside. Yeah. So we need to look at those terms and conditions of what they're fighting under. Nikita Koloff's getting quite a babyface pop here. Quite surprised at how big a pop he seemed to get. Right away, Vader in WCW's unstoppable monster. Those clubbing blows in the corner are unbelievable.
I'm not saying I love this match, but I really like this Vader. Like, this is the Vader I wanted to see in WWF. I didn't want to see one just talking about, I'm just a fat piece of shit and all that, you know. I want to see this one.
It's amazing. He's a monster.
He's scary. He's like, you know, you imagine that guy coming at you. Just like, no, I want absolutely no part of that. He's I thought Koloff was fine. But I would have loved to have seen this Vader in like a main event spot.
Same.
Because he's awesome.
Just wait till next year.
Oh, okay.
I felt the same. I bet you know I absolutely love Vader.
You're a Vader guy. Yeah.
At one point, Koloff picks him up and does he side suplex him? But he lands him. Does he side suplex him or just suplex? He lands him on his head. He could have broken his neck.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Yeah.
And there's a great Kamala-esque splash by Vader, which I thought should have ended the match, but Koloff managed to kick out, which is quite impressive. We get a clothesline on Vader over the top rope to the floor, and you know the commentators are making a big thing of that. Would have been a disqualification. This is no DQ.
Yeah.
The end of this match made me laugh. So they've been going back and forth for a while. Koloff sets Vader up in front of the ring post. Always a bad idea.
Yeah.
He like goes flying off like his Usain Bolt and tears into them.
Yep.
Misses and hits the ring post at an unbelievable pace.
I was looking thinking that must have actually hurt. That's
unbelievable. This must have been his thing, a sickle clothesline they kept referring it to.
Yeah.
We already had Stan Hansen with his lariat last time. We didn't need another one. Vader sticks powerbomb on him and retains the title for Rude.
Yeah.
I was with you. It wasn't the greatest match all time, but it was better than what we've had so far.
It was one of the better matches on this card.
Definitely. Okay, backstage, Teddy Long. Teddy Long is backstage, and I want, do you remember on Sky Sports when we used to have the fan zone, and you'd have the game, and then you'd have them in the bottom right hand corner. You'd have the two wee guys sitting. I want JR in the little corner as the camera goes on, and it's Steve Austin on one side and Steve Williams on the other side.
Wow. Yeah, you know the Vince gif where I think is it when Stacey Keebler's doing a dance on a table or something like that. That is JR seeing this team. That's what's going on there.
Amazing. What an absolute dream for JR to see his two boys in a tag team together. Just wait till they get to the ring. So we've got Stunning Steve Austin and Dr. Death Steve Williams. They're going to be taking on the WCW Tag Team Champions of Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes.
Yep.
It sounds like Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes aren't getting on.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a kind of Lance Storm and Chris Candido type of thing going on, I think.
Yeah.
Is this... I was going to say, is this the longest tag team match you've ever seen? But I recently watched that AEW match between FTR and Jay White and what's his name? The other guy that went on like 50 minutes. This match could have went on for about 3 hours if I hadn't known any better.
When we've had this before, did you suspect time limit draw at any point?
Yeah. I think I texted you saying they're doing the time limit thing again.
Yeah. But what I was waiting for, because I think the thing I was going to be most interesting, because I'm just looking for some story here, and it's sometimes not as easy when you're just dipping into one event a
That's
year.
fair.
I was looking for something between Wyndham and Rhodes to back up this alleged story of issues between them. And I thought they're talking about it, they're making a thing of it, so we're going to see something. We're surely going to see something. I didn't really see anything.
Nah, you're right. I didn't even notice that, but you're 100% right. That's funny. Do you know what this match felt like to me? Was when you ask a kid something and they start telling you the answer, and then they keep they've already told you the answer, and they keep telling you other stuff. And then there was this time, and then I had this, and I fell. But when I fell, I landed on it. Like, this match finished about 2 or 3 times, and then in came Steve Williams again.
Yeah.
And we started the dance all over again.
There was a comment quite early on from Jesse Ventura talking about doctors work for you. If you pay them enough, they'll write you whatever prescription you want.
Oh, is that roundabout? That is roundabout. This is a roundabout steroid time.
I was thinking it must have been, yeah, and I thought he's not said that accidentally. He's doing exactly what he's saying there. They were, I think, going for a bit of story with, I think for a lot of the match, Austin and Williams are dominating, and they've got one or other of Wyndham or Road kind of stuck in their corner. And there was some things he was doing in terms of the selling and the offense, and just basically like facial reactions as well. Where I do look, I'm not saying anyone could have predicted what Steve Austin would have become, but he's got something, and you can tell he's got something. He's 100%. Got like a star power about him. There's some in there. But the match, like you were saying, I don't know what the time limit was, but it just dragged and just continued when it could have felt like it could have had a natural ending quite a few times.
I think it went to a 30-minute. I think it was 30 minutes.
30 minute, yeah.
Yeah. This was the match where we had the whole... Is this where JR's talking about PV? Don't call him PV and all this.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And we get a ref bump. And it just seems... It's like it just seems to go on and on with the nonsense.
Yeah.
We get a ref bump, so another ref comes out and counts the win for Austin and Williams, but then the ref that took the original bump comes in and says, no, keep going. Somebody else gets rolled up and they count a 3, and then they're like, nah, keep going.
Yep.
An absolute mess.
Yeah.
It's so funny because obviously last time we watched a pay-per-view, we seen Dustin versus Austin, and they did the exact same thing, and we're a year down the line. Obviously, it's probably going to be out of mind, but for us, it's like we've seen the same thing.
I saw that.
In a tag. Yeah.
Again,
not much
disappointing.
more. Yeah, 100%. I love seeing Austin round about this time, but this was a bit like saying you like chocolate cake, then somebody force feeding you 100 cakes and you're feeling sick.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, wow, we're up to this already. Okay, Tony Schiavone is out here. He's with Paulie Dangerously. He's with Vader, with Harley Race, and he's looking to conduct some sort of interview. But Medusa comes out and gets in the middle, and it seems like there's some sort of power struggle between Paulie and Medusa about who's the head, who holds the power in the Dangerous Alliance.
I quite enjoyed the segment just because of Paulie, because he goes so far in terms of his berating her, and you're just waiting because you know from quite early on she's gonna do something, but it just keeps going and going and going. And like, I didn't think they maybe did a great job of setting up the fact that this was a power struggle, which I think it was. That's what made sense in my mind. And maybe right at the start, Schiavone could have asked someone that pointed you at that a bit more clearly. But Paulie's taking credit for all the success that the Dangerous Alliance have had, and he's saying things like, he just keeps saying, he's the brains and Medusa is just a woman, nothing but a woman, things like that. And
he refers to her as subservient.
Yes, and she's only been good for one thing: taking care of every one of Rick Rude's needs. So, yeah,
he's laying on thick. So
she
Paul
ends up.
Go on.
Does she just knock him down? She runs at him and ends up knocking him down, or does she?
Like,
what does she do?
Paul fires her.
Yes,
and he pushes her quite aggressively.
Yeah.
And she starts, like you say, she knocks him down, and she starts laying into his back with the boots.
Yeah.
Those look like legit boots she's given him.
Poor Schiavone is just stood at the back, kind of looking very flustered by this whole situation that's just gone on.
I wonder if he feared for his life, like Tony Khan did.
Maybe.
Poor guy.
Unsafe working environment, that.
Yeah. So that's Medusa out of the Dangerous Alliance. Shame. Okay, cue the theatrics. It's time to spin the wheel and make the deal. Here comes Sting.
Have you done any research? Like, tell me they didn't just legit let a spinning wheel decide what match this was going to be.
This was 100% shoot, and they were just going with whatever they had, because I think they had a cage above the ring.
Like, you surely you gimmick your wheel to get you the match you want that is going to be something interesting.
Maybe this was the realism that Bill Watts was looking for. Unbelievable. So this elaborate looking wheel, it takes about 5 minutes to be raised up in front of Sting. Poor Sting's just sort of standing there like, what else can he do but just look at it? And we get this wheel. It's obviously got all these different matches on it. So I got a note of some of them. You might have the other ones. It said that there was 12. So what have I got? 2, 4, 6, 8. I've got 9. So there was a Texas Bull Rope match on there, a barbed wire, a First Blood, a Coal Miner's Glove match, an I Quit match, a lumberjack, a cage match. No, a lumberjack with belts, not just a lumberjack. Texas Death Match, and a Prince of Darkness match, which I had to look up.
What was that going to be?
A Prince of Darkness match is just a blindfold match.
Okay.
Which is a bit... I assumed it was like you have to bite the head off a bat or something.
I don't have any written that you haven't said.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I knew,
go on.
I knew it was a Coal Miner's Glove match, and I don't know why I knew, but I did know. So when I saw the wheel, I was just looking at things thinking, that would have been cool, or that could have been interesting.
I was, as soon as I saw a Coal Miner's Glove match, I thought, it's not going to be that. The only thing I think about when I think of coal miners is Michael Cole in that ridiculous outfit that he was wearing.
He used to refer to his fans as the
coal miners. Yeah. Because I had no idea what a Coal Miner's Glove match was, did you?
Yeah, I remembered it's something about you get a glove and you put it on, and I was
unbelievable.
Is this glove supposed to have superpowers? Nah. Basically, it's just a glove, and if you get it,
I think it's a steel glove.
I think it's supposed to have something in it, but yeah, awful.
An I Quit match would have been great. I love the idea of a Texas Bull Rope match.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it stopped on Coal Miner's Glove match. I think Sting was like, fuck! Woo! Of all the matches it stops on, a Coal Miner's Glove match. So we shall look forward to that later in the match. And I think that comes on with 10 minutes left of the pay-per-view or something, so you're not exactly getting Flair Steamboat. And when you see the Nick of Jake Roberts, when he turns up to do his interview, you know what you're getting. Okay, match 5. This is our NWA Heavyweight Championship match. We've got the 2 guest refs. We've got Harley Race representing Rick Rude and Kensuke Sasaki representing Masahiro Chono. That's right?
Yep.
Okay. Probably my favourite part of the pay-per-view is when Rude comes out, says cut the music, and starts referring to them as sweat hogs.
Brilliant. That I will never tire of a Rick Rude entrance. He's just
sweat hogs.
He delivers it with so much arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
He's brilliant at that.
Did he always refer to people as sweat hogs?
He's definitely done it more than once, but I don't think it was always. I think he's got different words he uses.
I'm sure when we watched SummerSlam 90 and he was taking on Warrior in the cage, I'm sure he refers to them as sweat hogs as well.
Okay.
What a word that is. We need to bring that back. Okay, we get the coin toss, and Harley Race wins the toss to be in the ring. And Sasaki is then told to go outside. And at this point, I've wrote my notes. Why must WCW make everything so complicated? I've no idea what's going on already.
Did you know there was? I'll just say I struggled to get into this because I was just waiting for the shenanigans because it seemed inevitable there was going to be something, but they didn't do what I thought they were going to do because after what we'd just seen with Paul Lee and the Dangerous Alliance, you see Medusa come out with Rude, and I was thinking, okay, she's out of the alliance, but she's still with Rude. But my mind immediately went to, is she going to screw Rude here? And she didn't do anything.
No. She kind of just scowls at Chono's manager.
Yeah.
Every now and again, and that's about it. Talking about Medusa, JR says that Medusa is looking stoic at ringside after nailing Paul E. So I assume that they made up between then and this match. Classic Rude territory. We have someone going to work on his back. That seemed to happen to him every match.
Yeah. I wonder if he was kind of looking for that insurance payout at an early age.
The Philly crowd are having none of this New Japan wrestler.
Nah.
They were getting lots of boring chants as he's sort of slowing things down and putting on what, like the sort of legit holds and all that, stretching them.
There's a lot of that kind of, stretches, rest holds, things like that. And it really drags. I like Rude. And I feel like he has carried some, Warrior. I feel like he carried Warrior to a decent match. And I think he was a good worker, but this, it was boring me.
Slow, aye.
Yeah.
There was, for a good portion of this match, there was something clearly going on in the crowd. I don't know if there was a fight broke out in the crowd, but it's so noticeable that the commentators even end up mentioning something about it. Medusa's looking over.
From the hard camera angle, almost all of the crowd at a point are looking away at something else. So I suppose you can not acknowledge it, really. But I was thinking again, is someone coming down? Is something happening? But nah, it became clear by the way I think the announcers were talking about that, no, this isn't part of the story. This is just probably some mass brawl that's broken out in the crowd.
Like Harley Race gets distracted by it at one point.
Yeah.
Is at this point, round about this point in the match, that I realised that it's a disqualification if you come off the top rope.
Yeah.
Because I think Rude goes up for a drop kick off the top rope. And obviously somebody must mention something, but he doesn't get disqualified for it.
Yeah,
I guess that's the Harley Race favouring him.
Yeah, so there's definitely, I think Ventura calls for a DQ at one point, but I think it's from something Chono is doing. And then maybe JR fires back about how, well, shouldn't that be a DQ, for on Rude? But yeah, I think you can get away with that with the explanation that his ref is the guy in the ring.
and he hits the drop kick off the top rope at one point. Then he goes up, he goes to the well again. But Chono kind of, I assume he's supposed to either dodge it or do something. He does neither, and just falls over with like clear non-contact between the two of them.
Yeah,
it's so awkward.
Yeah.
But just when you think the realism is gone for the match, Harley Race takes a ridiculous big boot from Chono.
Yeah.
As Rude moves out of the way. He goes over the top rope and manages to take out the other ref at the same time. This is where, as if this wasn't a big enough clusterfuck, this is where it gets even worse. So both referees are now taken out. Rude hits a Rude Awakening, but the refs are incapacitated. Chono puts on an STF.
Yep.
Sasaki says it's over.
Yep.
Harley Race says no.
Yeah.
And they somehow come to a decision that the official decision is a disqualification.
It's a total clusterfuck because I'm watching it thinking how do you explain this? You've got one ref that's for each, right? So it's a bit awkward. So I think when you go back to, they've each had maybe one instance where they could have been DQ'd. But then you get Chono. So there's the big kick by Chono where he kicks Race. Now that's accidental, and I think Ventura's calling for a DQ at that point. But at the point where Chono then throws Rude over the top, we've already been told that is a DQ. That's supposed to be a DQ. So it is totally legit for Harley Race to say that's a disqualification. But Rude is supposed to be, I think, the heel, although who knows how the crowd will react to a performer from Japan. But then you've got like JR, and I think the hope would be people from the crowd arguing that shouldn't be a DQ, but I mean, it legit is. And Rude isn't really benefiting because he can't win the title on a DQ.
Yep.
So I just felt like the whole explanation of the finish, the whole story behind the finish, didn't really achieve anything. Yeah, I mean, you surely, in theory, punish the heel if you want to do right, and reward the heel if you want to do wrong. But Rude didn't get the belt.
Make the supposed face look sympathetic.
Yeah. But none of that translated to me.
So Chono retains his NWA title. He does not last very much longer in WCW. Okay. Because Steve Austin drops him on his skull.
Yeah. Did you send me a video of that? I think you maybe did. Yeah.
So Austin, is it early '93 maybe? Austin does like a sit down, the same thing as what Owen Hart did to Austin. Sit down tombstone, pile driver, and not like permanently paralyzes him or anything, but does damage to his neck.
Yeah.
And that was where Steve Austin would learn that he did not like that move.
Yeah.
So there we go. On tour. We're kind of got. It's fun. It's a funny pay-per-view because this is for the NWA title, but it's kind of made out to be quite a big deal. But then we've got the WCW heavyweight title, and then we've got the unsanctioned match as well. So our next match is for the WCW Heavyweight Championship, or the Big Gold Belt. It's the Barbarian with Cactus Jack versus Ron Simmons with Teddy Long in his corner. He's got the backstage interviewer in his corner.
That was weird. They've gone very like Ron Simmons as Hulk Hogan here.
What do you think?
On the entrance and all that, and the way they're talking about him and that kind of thing, and he's got like his big entourage, and I felt like they've clearly gone, or they're going all in on Ron Simmons here. But this is maybe going to be really controversial. I'm going to say it. I don't see Barbarian in the role as challenger. That feels like a bit of a stretch to me, but I quite enjoyed this.
You look so guilty.
I'm not even sure I can explain why. It's like, they're both these ridiculous physical specimens, both guys. And you've got Cactus Jack kind of just being a nuisance on the outside, which made me think, okay, Barbarian maybe shouldn't legit be a title challenger, but they were talking him up enough about, he's ridiculously tough and strong and all that. And then you've got Cactus just kind of, trying to do bits and pieces on the outside, but the goal is to make Ron Simmons look strong, and they're putting him over a guy who looks ridiculous physically. But yeah, maybe it's because of what's come before. I don't know, but I quite enjoyed it. I'm sorry.
You're being so naughty. Well, listen, I'm happy for you. I'm really happy for you. You found enjoyment. Fair play to the Barbarian for his diving headbutt. I didn't mind that.
Oh yeah.
At one point, he does attempt to do one from like the Van Daminator type thing, and Ron has to do his best caterpillar impression.
Yeah, he's trying to get himself in a good position for that. Yeah, I was just going to mention that one.
Did you enjoy? Sorry, I'm just going to pick at you now. But did you enjoy the bit in this match where they just ran at each other for quite a long time and bounced off each other?
I felt like maybe once was enough for that. They probably overdid that.
The sixth time was my favourite time, I think.
Brilliant. But poor Barbarian misses quite a lot of moves. Like, there's quite a few instances where he's getting on top and he'll just miss an elbow or something like that, and that'll be Ron Simmons back in control. But, like, again, just some, like, you get Simmons being distracted by Cactus Jack on the outside, and Barbarian, you hear a great noise with a kick to the back of the head for on Ron Simmons. Maybe he just legit did it. I don't know. But just like little moments that gave me, I think, more entertainment than so much of what had come before.
Class. I definitely like Simmons as the babyface champion. And I would have been quite happy with him winning the title last time against Luger. I thought it was a great match and a great build up, and they did a really good job at making that feel important. So I like that he came in as champion. I like him as the champion, like I said, and I wouldn't have been. I didn't have an issue with Barbarian being this type of challenger with Cactus Jack, because Cactus Jack sort of gives him legitimacy, and he's also been a menace. And from a heel point of view, you could see him winning the title through Cactus Jack being this dastardly pain in the arse on the outside.
Yeah,
but it's just some of the actual. But you know what you're getting with the Barbarian. It's not like you expect him to start pulling out technical wrestling or anything. Yeah.
So I was looking to see when it was that Luger was in. Remember, he was like in the World Bodybuilding Federation.
Oh, yeah, WWF. Yeah.
WWF. So I think he was actually away at this point, because I think he had from before this point. I think he was in the World Bodybuilding Federation for a while. So yeah, they've not got Luger here either. So they're obviously looking for someone to put in these top slots.
Yeah, it's like we've got Sting, so who else have we got?
Yeah.
So big Ron. Ron gets the win. He hits the power slam out of nowhere. Unbelievably, Barbarian does not kick out. You'd think his back would just have, bounced back up off the mat.
And they gave Simmons as well the kick out of the diving headbutt. So
they did.
He got to have that moment. Obviously, they're putting him over. I assume just against, he's probably facing a different person every single week, and he's just winning to make him put him over as the guy.
Aye. Wonder how long he kept the belt for.
Yeah.
Interesting to know. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out at some point. I'm glad you enjoyed that. That's but would you say it's this match and the Vader match is pretty much it?
And also just the little segment between Heyman and Medusa, which entertained me.
That's funny because the last pay-per-view, I'm sure we talked about, that was the little episode with Rick Rude being the Phantom.
Yes.
And Heyman going off, talking
Yeah.
about bankrupting WCW and all that sort of stuff. We like that
He's
too.
just such a good talker. He's entertaining.
Oh, he really is. He really is. What did I watch? I was watching something. You know, he does these inside the rope, or it's probably cut up into a few different segments on YouTube. Have you ever seen the Heyman Inside the Ropes?
I don't think I've seen any
interview
of that, no.
where he's in the UK doing like answering questions. I can't remember.
Okay.
He's so good, such a good talker, such a good talker. Okay, main event time. This is not sanctioned by WCW. JR mentions that on a solid 100 times, I think. They've obviously provided the wheel and the deal taking, but and the pole and the coal miner's glove, but it's no sanctioned by WCW.
Did you see there's the segment with Tony Schiavone, Bruno, and Eric Watts?
Oh yes. Sorry, I missed that. Yep.
Now, Eric Watts is a big guy.
Yes.
You can tell as soon as you see him, he is a big guy. He is there as Ron Simmons appeared, and they start talking about. Ron's talking about, he wants more matches, more title defenses. He gives a bit of praise to Eric Watts, who's just kind of standing there, and it's weird. And I immediately thought, is Eric Watts going to do something here? Is he gonna? Because all due respect, the Barbarian just got a title shot, so maybe Eric Watts can be like, I'm next, I'm gonna blindside Ron Simmons, but he just stands there like awkwardly as this, like, I don't know, as Ron Simmons is talking away, and he kind of looks a bit goofy, and I don't really get what the point of him being there was.
Why was he there? Yeah, he's sort of like a sort of bumbling fool.
Yeah,
he's almost talking like he's not on TV. Hey man, no, that was a great match. And then it's kind of like, just like you say, he's just sort of standing there. That's funny.
And I thought, has Bill Watts been like, right, he's going to stand there, and Ron, if you can just say something like, I think he says something like, you're a great young talent, but you've got a long way to go, or something like that. Ron Simmons says something like that. And I thought, was he just put there by Bill Watts, just so that Ron Simmons could say something?
Get a bit of rub.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It was weird.
I don't think he went on to much, Eric Watts. I had a look at his Wikipedia.
No.
He seemed to go on to something in TNA, some weird gimmick.
I listened to Jake the Snake he's been talking about this event on his podcast, and he was asked about Bill Watts, and he hates Bill Watts. He has history with Bill Watts. It's not a good situation. Basically, Jake signed with WCW for an agreed contract, then Bill Watts took over and tore up that contract and said, "Yeah, we're gonna renegotiate because you just walked out on Vince, so you're not going back there." So basically, took advantage of Jake's situation and got him to sign at way less than he previously agreed. But he was talking about Eric Watts. He's like, I felt like he wanted to say it. Yeah, he just didn't really have any talent. But they're like, he's being asked the question of, what did you think of him? He's like, given who his dad was, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's just not, maybe not, shouldn't have been in the business, but he's a good guy.
I take it Eric Watts is one of these amateur wrestlers. He almost looked like Scott Steiner a little bit. Yeah,
I think he would have been. I think because Bill Watts had his own quite big regional promotion, I think, and he'd maybe had a very young Eric Watts there before things started to move along. But I'm pretty sure he would have got him into amateur wrestling when he was young.
I see. Bill Watts was JR's hero, wasn't he? He was the man that sort of he cut his teeth with in the business.
Yeah, and I think there ended up being quite a big shock because Bill Watts has just taken over, but JR's not sticking around. He will not be on the next Havoc because he will definitely be at WrestleMania 9 wearing his bed sheets.
Togo, brilliant. Yeah. So is that 93 WrestleMania 9?
It must be. I'm sure I'm sure that's the next WrestleMania. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it will be because at SummerSlam, Brett's with Bulldog, so that's Brett basically walking away from the Intercontinental at that point, and he'll move on to world title. Yeah.
So it'll be round about this point that Mr. T, Michael Jackson, and Hulk Hogan are just hanging about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what it makes me think of? You know, in Doctor Sleep, when they inhale the sort of death from the children when they get like those vampires.
Yeah.
That's what that body odor thing makes me think of. You imagine like Hogan being sort of huddled around him going. Oh, brother.
Wow.
And dear.
Wow.
Okay, back to the pay-per-view.
Yep.
The wheel has been spun, the deal has been made. It's a coal miner glove match. Sting versus Jake Roberts. I think we get a Jake promo before it, but I've not made a note of it, but I think we get a Jake promo of some description before it, and he looks awful.
Yeah, he really does. And, like, see, as soon as my first line about this match is, oh, for fuck's sake, there's literally a glove on a pole. And then I looked because we've just seen Jake in an interview, and I think it was a pre-tape, or it looked like it was a pre-tape. And I'm looking thinking, I do not believe that Jake can go up there and I do not believe Jake can go up there. No. It's not going to happen. Like, the condition he looked like he was in, he's not getting up there. It's not going to happen.
No, absolutely not. What was the match that we watched? And it was like, what was it? It was like a bag of dimes on a pole match or something. It was like Earthquake and Boss Man.
Yeah.
And you were just like, why are these two fighting to get up a pole? Like Sting, at least you could see getting up that pole, but like you say, Jake looked like he was going to have to be dragged through the match.
My anger has clearly set in, given my next line on my notes. Was this planned? Did they legit just do whatever stipulation it landed on? Why was this even on the board? It's a fucking glove.
The amazing thing is, right, that the wheel was a shoot, and they picked that. So I wonder if they had finishes for all the matches, or they went, let's come up with it. But this is why they did the wheel halfway through the pay-per-view, because we need to come up with a finish. The finish that they came up for, in your wildest fever dream, you could never have came up with the finish that they came up with.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down, but I assumed I'd be able to remember what happened at the end. But I'm sure you've got notes, so maybe you could take us through this.
Yeah, I'll take you through. So I'll just go through my notes as they are. Jake just steps aside from a drop kick and then takes control. Jake hits the ring post. Sting wrapping Jake around the pole. The pole this glove on is massive. Definitely no way Jake's getting up there. Jake is selling the shoulder after he gets some offense in, which has Sting then attacking the arm. Weeks of speculation about the stipulation for this match. Weeks, and it's a coal miner's glove match. The match can be won by submission or pinfall, but you can also climb a pole and get a fucking glove.
What a load. I don't think I picked that up. That's bananas.
It's a non-sanctioned match, so Jake is now choking Sting with tape. Jake does the knee lift in a classic DDT setup. Sting counters. Jake lands hard on his back. Sting goes for a stinger splash. Jake moves. Sting hits the turnbuckle. Short clothesline by Jake, another DDT signal.
Nice.
JR is talking about the fact that Jake has a sore left arm, but he hits his DDT with the right arm. Jake uses the left arm to hit the DDT, the arm that he is selling. He executes the DDT using it. Jake can't climb that pole on a good day, never mind the state he's in, and with one arm. Sting starts kinda stripper moves on the pole, He's
Wow.
sliding all the way up and down it. Okay, Cactus Jack turns up and puts a bag into the ring. It is the snake bag. It's a cobra. Jake has the cobra out. I never like the way he aggressively handles the snakes. It freaks me out. Sting punches Jake, and the snake latches on to Jake's face.
Oh, you've made it seem a lot more seamless than what it was. He punches him, and Jake rams the snake onto his own face.
While the snake is on Jake's face, Sting pins Jake for the win. Cactus is dragging Jake down the aisle, trying to get the snake off him. The snake must be hating this. Jake's starting to act, or genuinely is, very woozy.
Yeah, they talked about having anti-venom at the side of the ring, didn't they?
Yeah. Now I think I've looked into some of this and read up on some of this. I think every snake that was ever used has been fixed.
Defanged.
But you still see it. Like, I remember seeing the thing where it's biting into Savage's arm when he's tied up in the ropes, and that looks great. I mean, it looks amazing when that's happening. But this, I don't know if it's because of where it was, and also the fact you talked about Jake had to force it there, basically, onto his face. It never came across that well, and it's like, this is just, I don't know, this feels like something I shouldn't really be watching, where a guy is just forcing this snake to bite his face, and it's
Steve
weird.
Irwin.
Yeah, it just got weird.
They could have easily done that with a rubber snake, the way that it was done.
Yeah, the way, especially the way he slaps the snakes and stuff like that. He deliberately tries to get them pissed off. I don't like it. But yeah, it was. I was so annoyed all the way through with the stipulation that I wasn't paying that much attention to what was actually going on, because I was just irritated.
It's unbelievable that they in a pay-per-view that's had that 30-minute time limit with the two different pins and Pee-wee Anderson saying no, and then the Harley Race going over. They managed to have an even worse finish. In this. Shocking.
Yeah.
It's like the WCW trait.
Mm-hmm.
There was the fake Sting, but that was Barry Windham, and I don't know, it's just like they specialise in making an absolute arse of finishes.
I know Bischoff's always said that they never had a finish guy. They just didn't have. They always said Dusty could come up with great stories, great match combinations, all that kind of thing. But they never had a guy that specialised in finishes. But you're always told that Jake himself had a brilliant brain for the business.
Mind for the business, yep.
And you would have thought he could, just even on the fly, even if it was a case of, right, it's a coal miner's glove, what are we going to do? You would have thought he could come up with something. Maybe it was just shit execution. Maybe if that all looked great, we would have been like, right, okay, this snake came back to bite him, whatever. But it just didn't. It didn't work.
Did not at all. What was I going to say? Do you think somewhere Damien's just lying watching this match and thank God that's not me? He had to use the tiddler this time.
Apparently, so after renegotiating Jake's contract downwards, after this match, Bill Watts said to him, "You're not bringing a snake to the ring again." So he was like, "You've just signed me.
Stop it.
This is no more snakes." Nah, right, great.
I'm sure. Did I read that this was his only ever WCW pay-per-view match?
Was it? He apparently wanted away as soon as Bill Watts was confirmed in the role. He wanted out, but he wanted to be close to home a lot of the time, so he didn't want to go to Japan or wherever else he could, or Mexico, and he didn't feel like he could have gone back to Vince so quickly after basically storming out.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, this was his only WCW pay-per-view appearance. He must end up back in WWF pretty soon after.
I'm trying to think when this was. So if he's in WCW here, I'm just looking up just now. Various promotions, 93 to 94. A tour in Australia, American Wrestling Federation, New Japan, Mexico. He went all about and then landed back in WWF in 96.
Right.
So that would have been because he faced Austin in the final of King of the Ring when Austin did the 316 promo.
Good shout. Yeah, John 316. He was doing all the sort of pastor Bible stuff.
Yeah, that's the character he was being. Yeah.
That was all thanks to Bill Watts. Get rid of your snake. Get a Bible.
Who signs Jake the Snake when you're lacking in star power and says you can't bring the snake?
Yeah, Undertaker? Nah, not anymore. Not on my watch. Back to Callis, mean Mark Callis.
Nobody's going to buy that bullshit here. I mean, what they will
We're
buy.
realistic here. That's brilliant. This is 100% my least favourite of the... They're getting worse, I think.
Yeah, I really didn't like the last one, the previous one. The thing is, it started so well. Like we talked about the last time, all the tag teams, it was good fun, it was entertaining. Yeah, so I've kind of got the fear now for 93.
Can I be... I don't want to get your hopes up, right? But the main event, Havoc 93, is one of my favourite matches.
All right, okay. Now, I think, I could be wrong on this, because I might get the timeline wrong, but I think there's a chance by 93, Flair might actually be back as well. I think he's not away that long.
Okay. I don't know.
I think he may be on the show.
If you're digging for me to tell you Flair's in the main event, don't think he is. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm fairly sure I know what the main event is, and I'm fairly sure it's a spin the wheel, take the deal.
It's another spin the wheel, take the deal.
It's a torture chamber, man. No, I'm just joking.
I'm just thinking, if it is another spin the wheel, make the deal, please tell me they gimmick it this time and they get the match people want to see.
Let's wait and see what you think. Okay. I love it. I've watched it a few times, that match.
Okay.
Talk about building up expectations.
That's encouraging. It's encouraging, though.
So hopefully John Carpenter delivers, and hopefully Bill Watts is gone.
I mean, it maybe can't get much worse, can it?
It can't get... Not in the movie front, it can.
No, it can't. So it's going to pick up again. The wrestling shows will, but they can't just be terrible all the way. They're going to pick up again. We'll
be getting Randy Savage soon at some point.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yeah.
The problem is, do you know who we'll probably be getting before we get Randy Savage?
So you were telling me earlier before we...
His body odor and stuff, it had a smell
Oh no.
Not 93 the way. 93 would be too early.
93 would be too early because he's on Mania 9.
Yes, the King of the Ring is when he makes his...
Yeah.
Remember we watched the King of the Ring. Is that King of the Ring 93?
So he might be on 94. I can't remember how long he stayed away from wrestling.
Mm-hmm. He did Japan for a little bit, did he not?
Did he? Yeah, you could be right. Like I'm just thinking. Right.
I think he played bass on that Metallica tour as well.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling it's maybe 94 that he joins WCW.
His main event in 94 Havoc.
Right, okay.
So look out for that.
So let's enjoy 93 while we can.
Yeah. We'll enjoy every single match. Okay, in 2 weeks' time, we will review Bag of Bones. Yes?
Is it not Body Bags?
Body bags?
Body Bags. Yeah, Body Bags. Yeah.
and Halloween Havoc 93.
Yeah.
Until then, keep it sweaty, sweat hogs. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Adam.
Cheers.